KC, proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Now, here's Zach Wolchuk and Brian Broaddus.
Milton's going to throw on first down. He's going deep. And it's intercepted in the end zone. Badly overthrew Mingo, badly. And waiting deep in the end zone was the young safety they absolutely love, Reuben Lowry.
31-13, Ravens over the Cowboys here in preseason game number 2. Zach Wolchuk alongside the Super Bowl winning scout Brian Broaddus as we're live from the Miller Lite Field Club here at AT&T Stadium. And it was a rough outing for Joe Milton. I think that's, a nice way to put it. 9 of 18, 122 yards, an interception. And that was right after North Texas' own Keeman Hall had an interception to put the Cowboys with an opportunity to maybe put points on the board right before the half, and then Milton just throwing up a prayer trying to find Jonathan Mingo in the end zone, and he just sailed it on him, and it ended up being intercepted as the Cowboys really didn't have a lot of offense in the first half. They get a couple of Brandon Aubrey field goals in the second. You had one rushing touchdown from D'Ernest Johnson from 2 yards out for Baltimore, sandwiched between a couple of Tyler Loop field goals, and that's how you got to 31-13. Did get a pick six in that first half from Andrew Booth Jr. The Cowboys defense, the number of snaps they had to play, Brian, you looked at overall, the discrepancy here was 79 offensive plays for the Ravens to 47 for the Cowboys.
Yeah, and it started off in the first half. And what's really kind of troublesome is I don't feel like the offensive line necessarily played like it did last week as a unit. They really didn't have the holes when they tried to run the football. Milton had to move around a little bit more. He wasn't accurate, of course, but that's a problem to me. And you had some guys that were playing that didn't play last week. I'll be interested to see the Bookers, the BBs, and guys like that when they got opportunity. What's really troubling is that there are guys that are going to be on this team that didn't play well last night, and there's some guys like with Booth. I felt like he showed up better for his cause. There's a lot of people kind of gnashing their teeth, talking about him as a player and all, but for him to have 8 tackles, have the interception, the pick six, at least he bounced back that way. Damone Clark, another guy that last week wasn't very good, bounced back, had 7 tackles. So it's just troubling that you have guys that they're going to rely on out here that didn't play to a high enough level. The Ravens clearly took it to them today. And offensively, though, you can say all you want about vanilla offense and all that, but even basic plays were hard to run today. And, that's on Milton, but it's on the offensive line, and it's also probably a little bit on the receivers and the running backs. It's a kind of a full effort tonight.
Yeah, that's safety to start the game, maybe a communication error. I know we were discussing.
I felt like that to me with Adeniji, like that's one of those things where he kicked wide and then they caught the corner and a corner blitz. Now back away, and then Milton not seeing it coming from his right side. That's a pretty simple blitz to kind of pick up. But I wonder if Adeniji was wrong kicking wide. Usually on that blitz, you want to keep everything kind of contained. You want to keep everything in front of you. But him kicking wide on the goal line with allowing a rusher inside, man, I just think that was probably a bust. But Milton, you can't just sit back there. You've got to take the ball. You're standing in your end zone. You can't hold it. You've got to get rid of that thing. Even if it's get rid of it and throw it away, punt, find a way to play defense. But that was really that was an unfortunate safety right there.
Yeah, and no awareness there to recognize the free rusher. There were a couple of throws you saw it. You saw the talent on display. The one where he is able to hit Mingo
we talk
deep.
about that a lot, don't we?
But overall, yeah, and the thing is that's tough is, I get it. You want to develop a young quarterback.
Right.
But you're also looking at, we've discussed the battle at wide receiver. How many can they keep? Is it 5? Yeah. Is it 6? Guys like Flanoy, Brooks, Mingo.
Brooks showed up again today.
Tolbert's in that mix, right? Joshua Kelly. You look down the roster here at some of these receivers, the running backs as well. Sanders got to start today. We saw Phil Maffa. The one thing, and I know you've been talking quite a bit about redundancy.
Right.
And what do some of these backs have that the others don't? And I don't think, it's not like hey, none of these other running backs have contact balance, but the one thing that really stands out to me watching Phil Maffa is his contact balance. His ability to keep his footing, bounce off of tackles, keep moving forward. He's a very north and south runner. I mean, we saw it coming out of Clemson. As soon as you get him east-west, that is not his game. But the ability to pass block, catch the ball in the backfield, as a rookie, the young legs, they basically told us today, Brian, Javonte Williams is going to be the starter, in my opinion, with him not dressing out.
Yeah, it's and the thing about with Maffa is he's shown up here the last couple of games. You mentioned the contact balance and all. Probably didn't give him a fair enough shake coming out of Clemson. All these backs we had to evaluate, and that's not an excuse. But he's come in here and he's done things well in practice. He's done things well in the first couple of games. I think that to me, you look at, okay, I mean, you mentioned the redundancy. Is he Hunter Lipke? Is he Williams? How many of these backs are you going to have this way? But I'll tell you what, he is making a reason for you to keep him on this football team with the way he's shown up and played.
877-881-1053, the number to call, the number to text, 877-881-1053 on the official postgame show of your Dallas Cowboys, brought to you by Pepsi, made for Cowboys watching. And if you want to use what the pros use, Jet Black is the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys. Visit getjackblack.com today. Looking at the defense, and again early on, it looked like, okay, You're going to struggle to stop the run. I did think as the game went on, they got much better, and I think one takeaway is you feel pretty good about the way the linebackers played tonight, Brian.
Yeah, you do. And what's interesting, though, is I felt like when they had really some of the starters and some of the backups in there, the run defense was a little bit better. But when it went to the 3s and the 4s, then you kind of started, maybe they got a little bit wore down at that point. You mentioned the 79 plays to 47, and a lot of guys had to play all 79 plays. But their run defense early, they did a good job. Linebackers, I felt like getting to the ball and getting up the field. When you talk about how they need to play run defense, it's gaps. It's all gap responsibilities. Right. And when guys get knocked out of gaps, they give up some big plays, or guys get turned, or Sam Williams had a situation where ball went to the edge, and then he just got crushed down inside, and it wasn't like a crack toss. It's just he gave up, and then what happened? They had one of the runs. They had James, the linebacker. He comes flying up and tries to just duck underneath, and play a shoulder, and now he's out of position of the gap. Ball goes past him. But, it was encouraging what I saw from a guy like Jack Sanborn early in this football game. He had 3 tackles, but he was around the ball. We mentioned about Damone Clark, his ability to run to the football, and much better job of playing with awareness. And I think that's what's going to be with him is if he plays that way, he's got the physical traits and the ability and all that to be an NFL linebacker. It's when he doesn't, when he's kind of guessing or he's kind of not sure, then it's going to be a problem.
Yeah, and that was and we've talked about this on Love of the Star, on the G-Bag Nation, on 105.3 The Fan, the flagship. My biggest question with Damone Clark is, and he probably is having the best camp he's ever had, and I agree with you that Flus probably has a lot to do with that. He's great with linebackers, but we've seen good training camps from Damone Clark, and then unfortunately it hasn't translated.
True.
And last week was a bummer to watch because I thought he struggled. This week, I thought Damone Clark was absolutely phenomenal, very active. Jack Sanborn had a really nice play. And credit some of the defensive tackles getting going, whether it was Jay Toia,
I thought Jay Toia, the couple of times I saw, he was playing on the other side of the ball, so good for him.
Yep, no question. And then Zion Childress again continues to impress for me. You're looking for somebody to emerge and take over as that slot nickel corner, where you have Jordan Lewis now in Jacksonville, and Zion Childress got some run with the ones. He had the slot blitz that I think ended up forcing the interception return for a touchdown by Andrew Booth. You see him just being tough, sticking his nose in it in the run game. I mean, that's the type of play temperament that you need if you're going to kick inside. That's why I love Deron Bland and his style of play. But if Bland wants to stay outside, who do you have week 1 to play?
Yeah.
To me, Zion Childress is probably the guy I'm going to give the first nod to.
Well, and Childress was able to, and we learned something today from Brian Schottenheimer in his visit with Brad Sham is they view him as an inside nickel player.
Right.
They do not see him as an outside guy. So The competition for him is going to be, can he win the job over Hall, or are they going to have to find somewhere else? Now I don't think it's about kicking Bland inside. I think it's about can Childers be that guy? He plays tough. He plays almost like a linebacker when he's down there. When the ball spills, he's not afraid to tackle.
No, he played some safety there at Kentucky, so he's a guy that can come up and he'll smack you. Other linebackers I thought that played well. I mean, Darius Harris, he did get the penalty.
That's unfortunate.
Like, okay, we can't be hitting the quarterback in the head, but a couple of good pressures. And how about Marshawn Nealand, who we got to see start? He had a good pressure around the edge as well, and that was one of the plays where I think Sam Williams got blocked pretty well.
Yeah.
But Marshawn Nealand, it was good to see. The one guy, and man, we were just singing his praises, and I'm still a huge believer in him. I don't think 2 preseason games, when we go back and watch the tape, we'll have a better idea. But Donovan Ezeraku, I was really hoping these first 2 games he'd carry over and everybody would be able to see, like, wow, no wonder you guys have been so impressed with what he did out in the practice fields.
Yeah, I need to sit down and watch, his opportunities to rush the passer, his ability to kind of move around and stuff. If this thing with Micah Parsons, and we haven't really talked about Micah Parsons all day, if this Micah Parsons thing turns into, a real holdout and then he is missing games, they're going to have to find pass rush. And Donovan Ezeraku and Fowler and Williams and those guys are going to have to step up and take the role of that.
Well, what do you do with James Houston?
I'll tell you, he looked good tonight. He really did. It was interesting how he played. I mean, he's a veteran guy. So, to me, when a veteran guy gets opportunity in these games, you hope that he would be a better player than the guys he's going across from. And I tell you what, though, he showed up as far as the pass rush stuff. That's what he can do. It looks like he's kind of getting a little bit of a rhythm, getting himself back together of what he once was.
877-881-1053, the number to call, the number to text, 877-881-1053 on the official postgame show of your Dallas Cowboys. We'll hear from your Cowboys head coach, Brian Schottenheimer, as he's about to take the podium over here as we're down in the Miller Lite Field Club. Zach Wolchuk alongside the Super Bowl winning scout, Brian Broaddus. We'll get your calls and text. Plus, we'll hear from the voice of the Dallas Cowboys, Brad Sham. You're listening to the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network.
Crown Royal and the Dallas Cowboys are bringing...
casino of the Dallas Cowboys. Please game responsibly. Sleep Number, the official sleep and wellness partner of the Dallas Cowboys. And by Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys.
Third down, and Milton throwing it. No, he won't throw it. He'll be sacked for a safety. A little more presence. He's got to get rid of the ball. Milton sacked for a safety by Marquise Robinson.
31-13. That was the safety to open the game there as Joe Milton gets sacked in the end zone by Martin. And, look, only 7 first downs of offense for the Cowboys. They go 2 of 11 on third down. Zach Wolchuk alongside the Super Bowl winning scout Brian brought us here. Miller Lite Field Club at AT&T Stadium. Official postgame show of your Dallas Cowboys brought to you by AT&T. Connecting changes everything. And you just cheered for America's team on the field. Now see them on the reels. Cowboys-themed casino games developed by Aristocrat, now at a casino near you. Aristocrat, a proud sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys. And do you have a gambling problem? Please contact 1-800-GAMBLER for 21 and over. 877-881-1053, the number to call, the number to text to get your Cowboys thoughts in here in the postgame show. But let's welcome in the voice of your Dallas Cowboys, the birthday boy himself. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Brad Sham, how are you, sir?
I'm well. How are you?
We're doing fantastic. I mean, it's good to be back. It's good to get football back. But overall, your initial takeaways from what we saw tonight.
You know, I heard a good bit of what you guys were saying just a few minutes ago coming down the hallway. You weren't coming down the hallway, I was.
No.
And I have nothing with which to disagree. There were a number of players on defense that are going to make them think.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have thought James Houston would have been. You'd have thought he's a practice squad guy, maybe.
Yeah.
He just keeps getting involved and putting pressure. I still might be a practice squad guy, but
Sure.
I think Shamar James has probably played his way onto the team. Zion Childress, given an opportunity by all of the injuries, he's definitely taken some steps. Keemon Hall did a few good things. A couple of the linebackers, you mentioned some of the guys that played early. So I think there's a lot to like there. Wasn't very much to like about the offense.
No, and Brad, I kind of felt like that last week your offensive line played better, more consistent from, I know tonight you're saying, oh, that was unfortunate. Johnny Cornelius is, but last week he was playing like he was holding his own and he wasn't giving up pressures. And I think overall, though, to me, the difference in this game, and we can all focus on Joe Milton and some of the play, but I think the offensive line wasn't as good this week as they were last week, and maybe that led to some of their problems.
Yeah, but I don't think that's unfair, and I think that I think Booker got quite a few snaps. He was still playing late.
He did,
which is good. He needs that. So what you and I will look at the tape tomorrow, and we'll know a little bit more about, like, BB played however many he played, not a lot, but he played a little bit. Booker played a lot. And so we'll have to see how much of some of those problems were from guys in the offensive line who just need to play.
Right.
And that's why they play these practice games. And some of them who, I thought Awesome Richards was better last week.
I did too.
Than he was tonight, although I really like him better at tackle than at guard.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you got some interior depth with Hoffman and Bass. Richards can make it because of versatility. I'm not sure if Nate Thomas played quite as well. He's probably playing better players.
Yes.
And he desperately needs to play. And there's no doubt you're right that it's unfair just to talk about Milton.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And someone's got to be the backup quarterback in Philadelphia.
Yeah. Right.
Do you want Joe Milton running your team right now?
Man, I'll tell you what. Today, I kind of felt like that. The scout wanted to see the wide receivers, and I was thinking, let's put the guys back in there to see what we got and stuff like that, and Will Greer. See what we got in Will Greer. And Will Greer's 1 for 5, and the pressure's happening to him. He's not hitting anybody.
He made a couple of rushed throws.
Yeah.
And some of that, I think, was because of what you were talking about, Ryan, about the protection. Wasn't very good.
I thought just overall, but, to me, it's kind of clear And this is something that Bobby Belt and I were talking about, and people in the organization. If you honestly felt like you had to go win a game, you would probably play Will Greer.
I would.
Yeah, and it doesn't look like it's one of those things with Joe Milton that you're like, okay, if you just want to see, and I think we've gone through a couple, and it's not like Joe Milton is getting third team reps.
Correct.
In practice.
Yeah.
Correct.
Brad, you're out there every day.
He's getting all the reps.
He's getting all the reps. And you're thinking like, well, there's got to be something carried from the practice field over into what we're seeing right now.
I do think this. Now, I'm interested in your thoughts. Would you take Joe Milton over Trey Lance?
See, that's...
No.
You would not?
Not today. Not right now, no.
Well, not today's Trey Lance. Last year's Trey Lance.
Oof. Yes.
Yeah, see, I think I would too. I would take today's
Yes.
Joe Milton over last year's Trey Lance. So
Trey, Trey
very
Lance is
subjective.
fine, and there's something's going on where he's figured some things out.
some experience.
Yeah,
experience,
and that makes a lot of difference.
And different coaching, and Milton, Milton needs to play.
Yeah.
And he's playing a position where if you have to learn how to play, we can't let you right now. And that's why I would trust Greer. Milton's got a lot of athleticism. He can do some different things. Greer is not like a statue.
Right.
So, if you don't get holding calls, and he's gonna come out and make some accurate throws. Yeah. He made that first throw, I think it was to Fant, that was on a route, as Babe Laufenberg pointed out, exact same route that Milton just rushed and overthrew earlier. And that's the kind of thing Milton is still doing. I'm not disappointed that they have Milton. I mean, I think he's a guy that you can work with, and he's clearly a talent, and I think he's a bright guy from the conversations I've been able to have with him. He just needs to play, and Will Greer, in my opinion, is ahead of him right now if I have to play a league game now.
I agree.
Doesn't mean forever.
No.
Sure.
Doesn't even mean in late October necessarily.
Yeah.
Right now,
Yeah.
I think Will Greer's ahead of him.
Just the thing that's just so troubling to me about with the Milton situation, and I mentioned again, is the reps he gets in practice.
Yeah.
Be honest, Will Greer gets very few reps in practice, and in the last couple of preseason games, it's been the Joe Milton show. And so,
and it will be next week, I bet.
Yeah, it could be, and hopefully that's the last time you see Joe Milton for the rest of the year.
We talked a little bit about the running back room with Sanders and Maffa getting to play today. Obviously, Williams didn't play. That probably an indication he's your RB1.
Yeah, I think you can safely say, if you look at the guys who are not playing, I think you can safely say who the starting running back is.
Is there a position group that you've got your eye on as we try and put the 53 together, that you've got some players that stood out to you, and I mean positive or negative way, whether it's wide receiver, running back, corner, some of these guys that are fighting for spots?
Well, the wide receivers, Zach, are really interesting because I didn't think Brooks was going to play. He did. He made a play. Mingo hurt his knee. Now I don't know what that does to him in the mix. But I'm not sure if Trayshawn Holden got into the game.
I did
at
see
the
him
very
late,
end,
the
but
very
I
end,
don't think he had a target.
I think that's one, and we talked about it on the pregame show, Brian. Those are the conversations they're going to have about, can we get this guy through waivers?
Sure.
Because if you're going to keep 5 or 6, so Flanoy does some good things. He still needs to play more, but he's got some stuff. Mingo, let's see what his health is, and now you got Brooks, and then you throw Holden into it. So, Zach, that is a room that's of interest to me. The running backs are interesting because I can't fathom that Blue is not going to be on the team.
Yes.
But he hasn't played.
Yeah.
He has not played.
Right.
So if you're going to keep Sanders, which I would be unwilling to go into the season with only Williams as a veteran running back. Apologies to Deuce Vaughn.
Do you feel that way? Does Hunter Lipke, and I know Hunter Lipke is kind of, I know it's not the running back, but is it make you feel like?
Makes me feel I can keep 3 tight ends. He's a Swiss Army.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking.
He can play fullback. He can play tailback if you have to. He can play tight end. He can do a lot of things. Great special teams player.
Yeah.
Want him on the team. We'll get him some snaps. But Maffa I don't know that you get Maffa through waivers.
I don't know.
See, this is where you kind of feel like that you need to look at the situation, and it could be Williams, Maffa, Blue, or that combination, and then with Hunter Lepke being the guy,
and maybe no one claims Sanders, then he's a practice squad guy.
And then you bring it back.
But the other one is, in the short time we have left, that cornerback's a mess.
It is.
It's just a total mess. I'm
Booth
good.
played a lot better today than I thought. You mean?
Well, he was getting picked on and then bounced back.
He played very well. Which Booth do you believe in? The one you saw tonight, or the one you saw last year?
That's the key question.
That's very key.
And I mean, I'm in on Childress.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, you got to have 6.
Yeah.
They might. We talked about this. They might have to go get somebody tonight. Might force them to say we need one more
and defensive tackle.
Yeah. Right. JT played okay tonight.
I think
the
too.
film will show that.
We'll see.
That's the trench play. We got to go back
Hope
and
so.
watch the all-22.
We always see that,
Brad, thank you so much.
Sure,
Happy
boys.
birthday. And also,
Thanks.
I know you mentioned this in the pregame. The Wall 2.0.
Oh, my gosh.
Exceptional. And you obviously were a big part of that.
Oh,
but I loved
was,
every bit of that.
Thank you. I was a little part of that. I mean, it was great execution. They pulled it off. They executed it as well as they idealized it. And then those 3 guys are just such diamonds to work with. So, yeah, you got to see that. You got to take an hour, give yourself a treat.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, boys.
All right, we are rolling here. The Miller Lite Field Club postgame show after the Cowboys lose to the Ravens, but it is the preseason 31-31. And yes, all Cowboy fans out there, Deep Blue, the Wall 2.0, you need to make sure you watch it. It's absolutely fantastic. The work that DallasCowboys.com, Ambar Garcia, Derek Eagleton, and crew did. It is. It's an exceptional documentary. 877-881-1053, the number to call, the number to text. Coming up on the other side, we'll hear from Brian Schottenheimer, your Cowboys head coach. We've got our Cowboys insider, Bobby Belt. Your calls and text. Dallas Cowboys football will continue in a moment.
Window Nation, the star of window replacement and proud partner of the
Rush rolling right, keeping, looking. Rush throws it off his back foot. Caught by Dwight Clark in the back of the end zone.
Dwight.
31-13, Ravens over the Cowboys here in the official postgame show. We're having fun. Miller Lite Field Club here in the preseason. Cowboys.
Cried that day that Dwight Clark caught that ball.
Yeah, it was. I saw Nick Heatman go ahead and tweet that one out, that it was reminiscent of the catch there. And it was a little bit, as we are joined now by Bobby Belt, your Dallas Cowboys insider. Before we get to Bobby, let's go ahead and pause 10 seconds to allow stations to identify themselves across the Dallas Cowboys radio network.
Your turn it on, leave it on. Home of America's team is 105.3 The Fan.
Hello, baby.
KRLD-FM and HD1, Dallas-Fort Worth.
An Odyssey sports station.
Zach Wolchuk alongside the Super Bowl winning scout Brian Broaddus, 877-881-1053, the number to call, the number to text. We will get to you in the phones here momentarily. Don't you worry. I appreciate all your patience, but let's welcome in Bobby. Bobby, what is up, man? Good to see you for another season. What were your initial takeaways as we're fresh off preseason game number 2?
I mean, there's the Joe Milton experience is still kind of what it's been and what you expected. I don't know how, given right now, I think the traits are there to eventually be a good player, and there's a lot there that I think is worth investing the time to get it right. I think if you need one game you got to win in the regular season, I don't think you put him out there. I don't know that you can. Yeah. That doesn't feel like anything that's tenable right now. I'd rather go Greer, and if they don't want to go Greer, I'd rather just have another quarterback here that they're looking at.
I brought that up, when we were talking with Brad, and that if they had to win a game, you and I had talked about that it was going to be probably Will Greer go out there, and the thing, and I brought it up with Brad, Bobby, and I me, I beat a dead horse, but the thing that this is kind of concerning to me is how many reps Milton gets in practice, but maybe not being able to carry it over into game action here. The last couple preseason games, that, man, it seems like, okay, Joe, you're watching him practice and you're watching him make some good throws, and he misses some guys here and there. But I think the things that we always talk about is he needs to play, but I think it's pretty simplistic out there for him, and that kind of has me a little bit concerned if you had to go forward in that thing.
Yeah, there's no touch on the ball with him, and there's a lot that, like we've talked about before, like it happens so fast for him, and you see things just. It's almost like you can hear the internal monologue for him of just like, like it's happening really quickly for him, and then there are other times where it looks completely confident, and it's a ball that's released, and it's like, where was that going? And what were you trying to do there?
But then there's that throw down the sideline.
Throw down the sideline that's
and you're just
50 yards dropped in a bucket, and it's like, okay.
Okay, that's what we're dealing with.
We've made the comparison here before. For those listening in Texas, you're probably familiar with Joey Gallo. Right now, he's Joey Gallo. He is going to hit the ball 500 feet, or he's going to strike out. That's what he's going to do while he's out there. And it looks really, really pretty and really, really nice when it clicks. It's just it doesn't click often enough. And that's going to be the biggest thing. Is I think it's clear their thrust is, this is probably our guy, and he's got all this talent. So we need to give him as much game action and game speed reps as possible to get him used to this, because this is who we're investing in.
I guess the pushback that I have with Milton is, I started to feel, as the offense struggled in that first half, is it now unfair to the rest of the players on that offense, the receivers, the tight ends, others that are fighting for roster spots, if you can't really judge them, unless you're just basing off of separation, route running, blocking, right? But if they don't have a chance to make plays down the field and get the football, how can we really give them a fair evaluation?
Yeah, there's going to be some of that. I think for them, what a lot of what they would look at, I'm sure, is just like somebody who beats a guy. Last week, what was it? Who did he beat against the Rams? Who was the receiver that beat it and then Milton underthrew the ball?
Mingo.
Mingo. I think for them, they'll just look at that and go like, we're going to take that as a win for Mingo, or like something that Mingo did.
There were several for Flournoy that on tape.
So you may just look at it and just go, the context is, if there's a better quarterback there, we feel good about what that receiver just did. But we need Milton to get used to the speed of this game, because that's routinely the thing everybody you talk to. If you go walk in there and ask almost every rookie in there, what's the biggest difference about this game? Almost all of them will say it's so fast. It's so much faster.
Felt like the offensive line, I know we talked about it with Brad a little bit. I didn't feel like they played as good as they played last week.
No.
Have anything to do with maybe some of the problems on the offense tonight?
Yeah, I mean, some of it may just be,
maybe the Ravens are just damn good at their backup.
I mean, the Ravens might have the best roster in the league.
There's that aspect of it. You're also talking about you are working in guys who weren't playing alongside you last week, obviously. I mean, it's just different reps. But, it wasn't as good this week. I did think that there were a couple times I watched Booker, and I was like, okay, like he got moved a little there. And I think that's just natural. He's a young player, still finding his way a little bit. But, there were other times where we're watching and it looked really good for Booker. There were times where we were watching Nate Thomas tonight, and I was like, man, that was really good from Nate Thomas. I liked that. Yeah. And so, a lot of that's going to just be the growing pains, I'm sure, of young players who are out there. I mean, Nate Thomas hadn't played opposite another team. I think Joe Hoyt from Dallas Morning News had the note before the Rams game. It was 800 days before that Rams practice the last time Nate Thomas had played opposite another team in a practice or anything else.
Sure.
Yeah.
So those reps are valuable. Booker out there obviously had missed the first game, but I thought as the game went on, Booker got better too.
Sure.
And I didn't think it was a particularly difficult game for him. But, yeah, the offensive line, not as good as you want to see, obviously. It can be better. But, yeah, you are playing a pretty good Ravens team that's pretty stacked all the way through.
Linebacker play?
Yeah.
Yeah, linebacker play for the Cowboys specifically. Yeah,
that was a highlight.
Yeah, no, I mean the linebacker play I thought was good, and I mean there was
Clark showed up, James showed up.
Clark showed up in a big way. James was out there playing really physical, had a couple of big hits out there. I thought for Clark it was really important.
Sanborn couple plays.
Sanborn the run fit.
I mean Barron made a couple plays out there today. I mean if you talk about, you had mentioned in the pregame show how big tonight was going to be for Clark. I felt like you saw two separate plays early in this game that when Clark made them, you almost could hear him exhale all the way up here. Just thank God. I got there. I did.
I read it the right way and I made a play.
You could see almost just this exhale release from him of thank God I was there. Yeah. So I think this was a big night for his confidence.
How about for Booth at red corner?
So Booth was in position.
With all that, it's kind of so muddled up. Did he play himself back?
Because he's had some Cheeto. Cheeto, if you remember Cheeto Uze, where he's in position, and then unfortunately it's just he just misses.
Yeah, look. I mean, Ruben, our engineer, was ready to give him game MVP. I know earlier in the press box.
He's a big Andrew Booth fan.
He was a big Andrew Booth guy. But look, I'm going to give Booth credit for. Booth was. There were a couple different times early in this. It was on that first or second drive. Booth, I think, got beat twice, where it's he's in position. It's that's not good enough. You got to finish that play. Yeah. But then he's opportunistic. He gets the bounce. He gets it. He runs it back. That's great. He made a couple other plays later in the game.
Sure.
That's all solid. And I like that. I would not feel confident putting Booth out there consistently if I'm the Cowboys.
Okay, so we had Booth with the interception. Hall had a pick. We talked Zion Childress. We saw a little Kyrie.
The Ravens backups can't catch. I know that.
Do you think that corner is the glaring blinking light position where they're going to have to go get somebody on the outside from this current roster before they take the field against the Eagles?
If they want to win games, yeah. Their corner group right now is not good enough. Assuming Diggs gets back healthy, and Diggs is Diggs. And
Elam, Bland, and then now play Childress inside. Because today I learned something that I didn't know. Brad Sham interviewing Shoddy, he says they view Childers as an inside weapon or inside piece. Mm-hmm. So that tells me they're going to keep Bland on the outside and try and focus on either Hall or Childers playing the slot.
Yeah.
I still think they need to maybe go get somebody.
I think they do need to get somebody. But look, if you're telling me their corner group is Bland, Diggs, Elam, whenever Diggs gets back and if Diggs is healthy, that might be good enough. I just don't know what it's going to look like. Is Elam going to prove to be just August MVP guy, and is Diggs going to come back and be the same player?
Mm-hmm. He's your starting left corner now.
I'll tell you who I liked on a couple different reps tonight was Troy Pride, and he hasn't always been consistent throughout camp. I thought he was good tonight.
Oh, he's so tough.
Yeah,
he is.
He's tough.
He had really good coverage down the field today.
He is fast too. He is one of the faster guys on this roster. So I thought Pride was decent tonight, and he was obviously somebody who got a few reps for them at the end of last year too.
Yeah. Any final thoughts before we let you out of here, Bobby?
And I said it to you guys earlier. I think Marshawn Nealon's been really impressive, and to me, if you want to talk about guys who are flashing, and I feel the best about their consistency and what they've done and what they've become, Nealon. Marshawn Nealon's that guy.
Yeah, I agree. I think Nealon certainly had himself a good game. Bobby, thank you so much, buddy. We'll catch up with you again next week.
I love you all.
Love you more. There he goes. Bobby Belt, our Cowboys insider, with us here on the official postgame show of your Dallas Cowboys. If you're ready to learn a new game and invest like the pros, don't worry. Even the pros were rookies in crypto once. Blockchain.com makes buying, selling, and trading crypto easy. Invest like your icons with Blockchain.com, and the all-new National Medal of Honor Museum in Arlington brings the stories of America's greatest heroes to life through virtual experiences and exciting interactive technology. Plan your visit at mohmuseum.org. Zach Wolchuk alongside the Super Bowl winning scout Brian Broaddus. We'll hear from the head coach, Brian Schottenheimer. Your calls and texts. Appreciate all your patience waiting on hold. 877-881-1053. You're listening to the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network.
Miller Lite, the legendary light beer, the originator, the...
Proud sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys. Brought to you by
Bell Nunnally, behind every great company. Pepsi, whether tailgating at the stadium or grilling at home, on game day, Cowboys fans deserve Pepsi. Ford, your North Texas Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Texas. Blockchain.com. Invest like your icons with blockchain.com. And by DallasCowboys.com. Keep track of the boys with daily podcasts and up-to-the-minute blogging at DallasCowboys.com and on the official Dallas Cowboys app.
Gunn with the back on his right, slot formation on the right, back to throw, plenty of time, throws it left, intercepted by Booth. Down the right sideline he comes with a convoy. Booth into the end zone. Pick six, touchdown for Andrew Booth. That did not hurt him.
That was our What a Play of the game, brought to you by Whataburger and the Salvation Army, doing the most good. A pick six, Andrew Booth, and good pressure on the play. The slot blitz from Zion Childress, who, to me, he should be earning a spot on this 53-man roster. He's been absolutely outstanding, but a 40-yard pick six. Cowboys' lone touchdown of the game actually gave them the lead for the only time tonight at 7-5, 31-13. Your final, the Ravens over the Cowboys. 877-881-1053. The number to call, the number to text, that's 877-881-1053 as we're here at the Miller Lite Field Club on your official postgame show of the Dallas Cowboys. Zach Wolchuk alongside Brian Broaddus. Before we dive into your calls, let's hear from the head coach of your Dallas Cowboys, Brian Schottenheimer.
How concerned are you about Joe Milton right now?
I wouldn't say I'm concerned. I mean, again, he, we didn't get into rhythm offensively. It's, what we did in the first half against the Rams, I think came out with a little bit of a different mindset in terms of trying to run the ball. They got him, they fooled him a little bit on the safety on the third down there. We're trying to get the ball out of his hand fast, and they showed down one side, Calvin, and brought the blitz from the other side, and it just spooked him, and he's got to try to throw that ball away. His feet were kind of talking to him, but it wasn't just Joe. I mean, we got to be able to run the ball better, got to take care of the football. He throws the ball with a lot of tempo. I thought Hunter had a ball, he could have made a catch on the over. And again, you hit a couple of those things and it gets you going. Sometimes, you need somebody to help you make a play. And I don't think we did a great job of that. I just told the guys, I said, hey, the bottom line is this, we're not going to say that that's just a preseason game. We're not just going to say, oh, we'll be fine. We're going to look at it, because the fact that, we really lost both halves, that is something that we have to get corrected. There's too many good football players, too many good coaches for us to perform the way that we did tonight. So we'll look at the film. We'll find out the things that we did well. There'll certainly be a ton of corrections that we have to make, and we'll dive in first thing in the morning.
Before we broke camp, you said, I don't have a backup. After seeing Joe for 2 weeks, you got one left, do you still feel that way?
Yeah, again, I feel like I don't have to decide anything today. We going to keep letting these guys practice. I just told the guys, get ready, because, the couple practices this week are going to be really physical, and we have to. But it's like all these position battles. We don't have to decide anything now. I think, like with the receivers, we were trying to get a good look at a couple of those guys that were fighting for those spots, and I thought a couple guys stepped up and did a nice job. I thought, Florino had a couple nice catches. Mingo made a great catch down the boundary, and then, I felt like we kind of shot ourselves in the foot with penalties when we would get some momentum, and so we got to be cleaner.
Clarence Hill, DLS Cowboys. Comes you got off to a slow start again, and that's something you're not doing as well. It's not just not having plays, but you're not getting first downs, which contributes to that. And why are you not concerned with the backup quarterback, Joe Milton's play, whatever, when opposite side of the field you got a guy, Cooper Rush, who's won games here, and it shows you what you want in a backup quarterback. Do you know these guys can win games, and something had to happen to Dak Prescott?
Yeah, I think we have to believe that. I think we do believe that. I think, again, when you put a game plan together for these guys, and whether you're playing with Joe or you're playing with Will, you're going to have a plan of how you want to play. Hey, look, Cooper Rush has played in this league for a long time. What he did tonight, it didn't surprise anybody in the first half. I mean, I've seen him do that for the last 3 years. And so Joe Milton's in year 2, and so, again, I'm not panicked. Again, it's not just them. It's us as coaches. It's the other players. It's all that. But the biggest thing for me is, again, we just, we have to balance up the time of possession. We had the defense out there for over 40 minutes. That's too long. Well, why is that? Well, we weren't very good on third down, and we got to be better on third down. And they had a couple of wrinkles in the blitz game that we need to handle a little bit better. But for the most part, it's just really us executing, or tonight not executing.
When you said that he should have thrown the ball, you were talking about the interception, or you were talking about the sack safety?
Ask it again.
When you said he should have thrown it away?
Yeah, so we were backed up. We had the negative play, so we called a quick answer. They showed down, and his feet were he was holding on the slant. We were trying to throw a little flat slant combination, and they had 2 free runners, so that was on him.
There is Brian Schottenheimer after the 31-13 Ravens win over the Cowboys. Clearance.
He answered our question, though. That was a good one. We thought that maybe that Adeniji kicked wide, but then they showed a look where everybody was covered and then brought the blitzer from the other side. So, appreciate Shotty. There's been times we have to look at it, have to see the film and all that, but he's not making the excuses for Joe Milton. It's and he's absolutely right. When they talk about the team, they did not win either half. Or not even close to winning either half there. And so that's something that is really, we said it earlier when we opened, it's about this team, the offensive line, the receivers, the runners. It's not just Joe Milton. You've got to kind of figure out there are some guys that are going to be played tonight that you're probably going to have to rely on during the season that didn't do very well tonight. So that's got to be concerning to them. He says he's not panicking and all that, but he talks about hard work and getting back to it and physical practices and stuff like that. Was his team really physical tonight? I think defensively there were some times where they were physical, but overall though I think that it was just a bad outing for his football team and bad outing for the coaches as well.
And
they're part of it as well.
Hey, play calling, all that's going to be different in the regular season versus the preseason. But there were 3rd and 1. They threw the ball instead of running it, and then they ran it on the 4th down. They get stuffed.
Yeah,
maybe line up and that's
run the ball twice.
That's a good chance.
It happened to him last week too.
To build the physicality, to build the run game. Line up and smash somebody in the mouth.
It's 4th and 1, and you don't run it behind Booker. There's things like that you kind of wonder. If you want to get confidence in, you run that ball forward and you run it behind Booker, and it's a 1st down, and you're. Now Booker, the rookie's flying. Yeah, okay, they're gonna count on me to get this done, and there's ways that he can help his football team, but his football team is also. I thought there were some defensive guys. Their defense has been under attack the last couple of weeks, and at times the defense has shown some resiliency to bounce back. I can't say that about the offense in a lot of ways.
No.
I really can't.
The first quarter was. I don't think they had their first down.
I think they got worse.
Yeah, this was worse than what we saw last week. I would agree with that. It was a rough outing as Joe Milton went 9 of 18, 122 yards and an interception. They were 2 of 11 to his point on 3rd down. And, overall, in 47 offensive plays, they had a net yardage of 176 yards. All right, let's get to the phones. I know a lot of you have been waiting patiently. 877-881-1053. Really, really appreciate you guys hanging in with us. An abbreviated post-game show here as we're going to go with you until the top of the hour. Let's go out to our buddy in Round Rock, Big Jim. Big Jim, what's going on, man? How are you?
Oh, doing all right, fellas. I'll be real quick. I got 3 things. One, backup quarterback should be you should have a veteran in there that you have confidence in that can go execute the offense and not get you beat. The Joe Milton experiment. We've experimented a couple times. With the kid last year from San Francisco. He's doing pretty good out there in San Diego now, or Los Angeles. Look, if you want to experiment with him, keep him on the roster and give him some scout team work. 2, I'm a little bit worried about our offensive scheme. It's 2 weeks in a row that this offensive line has not done too well against blitzes and twists and stunts, that sort of thing, and that's concerning because look, we don't have a clue about what the starting groups are going to look like. Right. So, is it a scheme thing? Is it a communication thing? Is it getting the protections lined up? And then, 3rd and last, guys, Moffitt is a good running back. He got some work this week, in practice. But the Deuce Vaughn thing, it just doesn't make sense. He's not an NFL running back. And for Pete's sakes, you can't hold on to this guy. We didn't see much out of Sanders. Don't know what we got with the guy they got circled for the starter. We don't know what Blue's going to do. What we have seen is Moffa's gotten out there and runs downhill, puts his pads forward. And, anyway, it's there's a lot more. I tell you what, there's a lot of questions. And guys, we ain't going to have any answers till they line up and play the Philadelphia Eagles on Thursday night. And,
True.
boys, I'm going to tell you what, when you got fourth thing, there's probably a few defensive tackles that were playing in that game tonight, not for us, that we should go get. Because I tell you something, you can't have defensive tackles getting rammed into linebackers down the field and expect that at any point in the season that you're going to be able to stop the run. But I'm pretty concerned. I'm not panicking, but I'm pretty dang concerned. And this, the coach didn't put anybody in a good position tonight.
I think the concern is fair. The concern is fair, Jim. I really appreciate you. Now, I mean, granted, offensively, they have been very vanilla, and we have not seen the starting line, Dak, CD, Pickens, Javonte Williams, who should be your running back one, Jake Ferguson. There's still a lot that we really haven't seen anything to panic because you haven't got any starters on offense and your best players on defense. But there are a ton of questions that we're probably not going to have the answers to until they lace them up on Thursday night in the season opener against Philly.
Yeah, it's a shame that they're not very good right now. Well, this week they weren't very good on just basic plays. Just basic. He talked about the blitz pickup and. Jim was talking about that, that the line has struggled with that.
Mm-hmm.
And that was something that, if you have guys that, and you got some veteran guys in there, but do you game plan for that stuff? Is it stuff you worked on during the week? Maybe there's some stuff that they looked at. I'm not making that as an excuse because, the coach said that was on Milton. He's got to make that throw. He's got to get rid of the ball and stuff like that. So, but just the basic plays, just basic football plays, they're struggling with right now. And that part of it is disappointing to me. And I keep saying this is because some of these guys are going to have to play for you.
Right.
And if they're struggling with basic things, that doesn't bode well into the season.
All right, we'll get back to your calls here on the other side. We'll also hear from your quarterback, Joe Milton. Dallas Cowboys football will continue in a moment.
Dallas Cowboys fans know a thing or two about legacy, commitment, and...
Get your tickets at mohmuseum.org.
Now on second down, here's a pass that's dropped and intercepted. Keemon Hall picked that ball out of the hands of the running back Ali at the Raven 40, and the Cowboys have their second takeaway of the night. Hall touchdown immediately.
That was our defensive stand of the game, brought to you by WinStar, as the casino of the Dallas Cowboys. WinStar delivers thrills worthy of America's team with over 10,000 of your favorite electronic games, a 2-story WinStar Spa and Cascades, their luxury pool complex. WinStar is a world of wow. Please game responsibly as the North Texas Mean Green. Cobb, baby, let's go. Keemon Hall with that interception. Unfortunately, with a minute 20 or minute 40, I should say, left in the half, Cowboys got the football, had some good field position, but Joe Milton just threw it directly back to the other team on the ensuing play. But that was the second interception thrown by Cooper Rush, former Cowboy, making his return to AT&T Stadium now with the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, that's just unfortunate. Dallas, nice job getting the ball, defensively, get the ball right there at midfield. You're thinking, okay, if anything, you get the ball to start the second half. Maybe you could drive it. Maybe you get a touchdown. Maybe you kick a field goal, that kind of the way the offense was going. And you get points out of that. And kind of give the defense a little bit of a break there. But immediately they have to go back out on the field. And then they subsequently give up a, field goal of their own right before half. So, you don't know, is that a a 10-point swing? Is that a 6-point swing? But it just was unfortunate. Offense, and Schottenheimer even mentioned it, they had no rhythm.
No.
And you kind of feel like that if you're going to play basic, that you could find a way to get rhythm. I'm not saying you have to be creative and game plan and all that for these preseason games. The one advantage he has, if there was a Philadelphia Eagles scout sitting up in the press box watching him, he got nothing out of that. They got nothing out of that. So the things that, and maybe the last couple weeks he really hasn't gotten, the Philadelphia Eagles scout hasn't gotten anything, but they've got to, if you're going to be basic, just, okay, find a list of plays that you can call that gets your offense going where you're just not bogging down. The last 2 weeks have just been awful in the first half with this offense, just being basic.
Yeah, it's not good, and I understand you don't want to throw it all on one player.
Yeah,
I do think.
I don't think it's all Joe Milton's fault.
I think the majority of it is I think on Joe Milton.
Yeah, it is. He was very poor tonight. There's no question about that. But they did not do things offensively with the line, and we were all kind of encouraged. Oh, look, Booker. Oh, look, BB.
Sure.
Oh, look, if we watch that tomorrow, and all of a sudden, nothing. I know BB is one of your favorites, and I'm just saying that because
no, for sure, absolutely.
But if BB looks just ordinary tomorrow, or Booker looks just ordinary tomorrow,
it'll be disappointing.
It'll be disappointing because I was encouraged by when Eric and I were doing and Christy Scales told us, hey, so-and-so's playing, so-and-so's playing. So I was encouraged, like, okay, we're going to see a little bit more what this team is. Boy, but they played like a team that just they had like no rhythm. Defensively, like I said, there were some guys playing. I call this the suit. Eric always comes up with a name. I call this the suitcase game. Pack your bags game. This is a pack your bags game. Because there were some pack your bags guys that were probably going to get a last chance. Booth, pack your bags guy, maybe,
Troy Pride.
Clark, some pack your bags guys that actually showed up and played pretty well for you. So we'll see for another week.
We sure will. 877-881-1053. Number to call, number to text. Zach Wolchuk alongside Brian Broaddus here live from the Miller Lite Field Club, AT&T Stadium, 31-13. Ravens over your Cowboys. Let's get back to the phones. I know you've been waiting patiently. Let's go out to Gary in New Mexico. Gary, what's going on, man?
Hey, guys, you do not want to peak in August. So let's not give up on them yet, man. There's a lot of football, a lot of room to grow out there. Brian said something that concerned me on Joe Milton, and that's the fact that he's getting so many reps in practice as well.
He does.
Now, doesn't that affect, if Will Greer is going to be your backup, and he should be your backup going into the season, and he's not even getting any reps in practice, is he going to be ready if that goes down? That's a concern.
They might be thinking Joe Milton's their backup. That's why he's getting all the work.
Yeah, I think you're right. But I got a question, and I'll let y'all go. Do you think it's more likely that the Cowboys sign a cornerback off of another team off of waivers, or do they try to make a trade for another cornerback? And I'll hang up and listen.
Thank you, Gary. I'd be looking to make a trade if you feel good about some of your wide receivers. And this is why, and I'm not trying to just like, hey, it's no shots on Jalen Tolbert here.
Sure.
Jalen Tolbert has an NFL pedigree. He's got a resume that you can and tape and film and has stepped up.
He's got a tradable commodity.
Right. Like he's got some value in the NFL. It's not like a guy like Ryan Flanoy that's trying to make a name for himself.
Right.
You could call the Pittsburgh Steelers, just throwing a team out there, and say, hey, remember that guy that beat you last year with the game-winning touchdown? Do you have a surplus of corners?
Yeah.
Can we ask you for Beanie Bishop? Just, whoever it is, can we swap Jalen Tolbert for a corner? And that's what I'd be looking to do. And maybe they're looking at Jalen Tolbert, and they're like, hey, he's not a guy we want to move. We know what Jalen Tolbert is. We feel great about him. I'd argue and say, like, well, tell me what Jalen Tolbert does that any of these other wide receivers also couldn't do. And if they can't do it right now, they're younger, and they're under team control. Tolbert's going to be a free agent.
Sure.
So if I'm just like team building and projecting ahead, that's a guy I'd look to maybe move if I feel good about Holden or Brooks or Flynn, any of these guys that are battling to make the roster right now.
Yeah, I think you got to. There's three options. It's either going to be they might be their number one option might be and Shotty said this in the pregame show with Brad Sham. He said there's help on the way, and I think what he's trying to tell you is. Help on the way is that Carson is that, he's trying to tell you that there's going to be guys. Maybe they don't address it. Maybe they don't. They say, listen, we're going to ride with who we have, which might be an absolute mistake. That might be. But they also, there's the option of letting it ride with who you have. There's the option of going out, like you say, to trade for somebody. That's a possibility. Or they could just see what happens in the final cuts.
Yeah, and maybe there's a guy that they look and they've been monitoring on their teams that they like.
Yeah, and if the trade, hopefully it's the trade of your surplus for them. But if you're going to do this, you got to trade. If you really want, you can't go and get like I don't think you go say, okay, we'll go get a 7th-round corner or a free agent corner. Maybe they evaluated somebody that they really, really like that's shown up in some of these these last two games that they could say, hey, let's go trade for this guy, and we could plug him in and play because he's better than the guys that we have. So maybe there's somebody on the Bears that flews and Overstreet the coaches really, really, really like, and that's who you go after, that they have that familiarity with the player.
Let's try and get one more call in here before the next break. We got Harrison calling in from Mesquite. Harrison, you're on the official postgame show of the Dallas Cowboys.
Hey, guys. Man, I saw a lot of problems out there. First of all, I didn't see any people competing, especially the first half. Sure. I mean, you guys are bringing up a couple linebackers, but, man, they couldn't stop Baltimore the first quarter. I mean, they dominated our defense. This Milton project, I mean, a lot of times guys will say, hey, you got an athletic quarterback. That's what I see. I don't see a quarterback. I don't see him able to read the field. Dallas is not going to go very far depending on this situation. I hate we passed on Shador. Cowboys just don't look good. They're not competing, and I'm not seeing them with the same energy that the coach had. I don't know. I listened to you guys all training camp, and, players doing good and not doing good, but even Williams, I don't see nothing out of Williams to end. I don't see nothing rush. No pass rush out of him. The rookie having trouble against the second-team offense. I just see a lot of problems with Dallas, and it really concerns me because we're going to have to put a lot of pressure on Dak. And I'm just seeing a vanilla offense. It's a lot of problems, and I'll hang up and listen, guys.
I appreciate the call. Look, you're right in terms of the pass rush. I mean, Nealon did get some pressure. They sent some blitzes to Childress, Houston, Harris on a blitz. But, yeah, I mean, I mentioned the open there. I would have loved to have the last two games Donovan Ezeraku, who has been a star in training camp, I would have loved to have seen that in-game action so everybody else who hasn't been able to see the practices would be like, oh, yeah, I can see why you guys are so excited about this young rookie. And I do agree with you on Sam Williams. There were times tonight Sam Williams was getting worked off the ball. And it might just take some time. In his defense, just trying to be fair, it might just take some time coming off of an injury like that. But the one thing that the Cowboys don't have this year is time.
Yeah.
They have a brutal second half to the schedule. They cannot afford to come out of the gate slow, and they can't be workshopping corners, and they can't be lining up on the Eagles, and all of a sudden Kyrie Elam's getting picked on and Zion Childress is getting picked on. They got to make sure they can line up and go and play and compete, because all of a sudden you come out of the gates and things are a little rough, and you're waiting to get Diggs back, and you're waiting to get Overshown back, and you're waiting to get Butler or name the player, Revel. All of a sudden you might not have any time, and you're kind of out of the hunt already.
Yeah. I thought the defense did compete tonight. I thought they got put in some terrible situations again. I thought the offense was, I've said it before, I don't think the offense was as good. I thought the quarterback play was spotty. I think the quarterback play regressed. I think there were things in the second half of the game last week where he started to make some throws, and I think this time around it snowballed for him. But they took him out. There was nothing that you could say that was super. The one throw he made down the field, to Mingo, great adjust on the catch. That was really it. Your quarterback took a step back this week when it came to, and I felt like the offensive line took a step back. The running game was non-existent. So yeah, it's that part of it. But defense, like I say, I didn't feel like the defense got beat up like the caller said. I don't feel that way. I feel like
they forced a punt.
I felt like that they were. I felt like they were kind of thrown out there a lot more than they probably should have been in that game.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. All right, we will hear from Joe Milton. We'll try and get to a couple more of your calls and texts. We put a bow on this one. Look ahead to the preseason finale next week. You're listening to the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network.
The ultimate getaway for Cowboys fans, it's waiting in the Bahamas.
d'oeuvre Pepsi. Blockchain.com. Invest like your icons with Blockchain.com. The islands of the Bahamas. It's not one island, it's a lifetime of them. And by Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys.
Shotgun, trips to the left. Delayed blitz, Milton heaves it. Deep down the right side for Mingo, 1 for 1. Oh, caught it over his shoulder at about the 23-yard line of the Ravens.
Zach Wolchuk alongside the Super Bowl winning scout Brian Broaddus. Final segment here as we put a bow on this 31-13 Ravens win over the Cowboys. Cowboys falling to 0-2 now in the preseason. They'll be back at it on Friday night. Okay, this is going to be a Friday night preseason finale.
Got 1 hour pregame show, right?
Yeah, I guess it's a one. It's pretty,
is it a national game?
That's easy money there for Eric. Yeah, it's an NFL Network game, so it'll be a 7:00 kick. And then we'll take post-game, I guess, until midnight is how that'll go here from the Miller Lite Field Club. But let's hear from Joe Milton as we just got our drive of the game, which tonight's game between the Ravens and the Cowboys at AT&T Stadium was brought to you by WinStar World Casino and Resort. Proud to be the casino of the Dallas Cowboys. Please game responsibly. That big pass from Milton to Mingo setting up the field goal. But here was Joe Milton with our buddy Fred Davis of 105.3 The Fan.
All right, well, tell us what happened today. Your game 2, where we at?
Yeah, game 2. I felt like, I started to feel a little bit more comfortable on the interception. Just got to see the post safety get over there. I was just so geeked about the boundary safety rolling down, but just got to clean up my eyes and see the post safety roll over top. Expect that to happen. But other than that, the sack, just try to get the ball out to the right on the safety. Other than that, man, I feel like I played pretty clean. After I started cleaning up my eyes and footwork and just trusting it, start playing it clean. But just got to clean up the small stuff, man, and things will be rolling.
There's Joe Milton here on the official postgame show of your Cowboys. We also have our player of the game.
Rush under center, got a fullback in an I formation. They will give it to the deep back Ali. Really good play by Damone Clark. Sidestepped the block, hopped into the backfield and made the tackle.
It's great to see your fellow LSU Tiger, Damone Clark, 7 total tackles tonight after what was a rough preseason game number 1 against the Rams. But he bounced back and really looked phenomenal tonight against the Ravens.
Yeah, a couple of defensive players that, and we always talk about watch the film. But those are the ones with, he stood out tonight. I think the linebackers as a whole, Jack Sanborn kind of got some of the first action of him. Shamar James making some plays as well. That was encouraging from that aspect. But Clark needed to have this type of game. He'd been practicing so well, and then last week he reverted back. But this week he looked like that he was able to carry some things from the practice field into this particular game.
All right, we are up against it, but let's try and get some of these final calls in. We got Chris in Waco who's been waiting patiently. Chris, you're on the official postgame show of the Cowboys.
Brian and Wooly Bully, thanks for taking my call. And if I may, real quick, just a shout out to 3-time state champion basketball coach right here in the great state of Texas, Jay Bruce, and including 2-time defending state champion in Martins Mill Lady basketball. So shout out Jay. I know he was at the game tonight with his beautiful daughter, Addie.
Nice.
Anyhow, listening to Joe Milton just now, wow. All I can say is Joe sounds like me after playing golf and shooting a 120. But I had that one good drive on 18. It's like, I think I got it figured out, guys, and I think I'm getting into my groove. That is so disappointing. But we all know as Cowboy Nation that if Joe Milton or Will Grier are playing on the field this year, we're just going to be investing in more Jesus and whiskey. So we'll leave it at that. Brian, real quick.
Sure.
Houston and I forget the rookie
Ezraku?
Ezraku, sorry. I'm old enough to say Ebenezer Ekubon. Some of these guys, and Sam Williams for that matter, if they come out, I mean, I was impressed with Houston tonight, some of those replays they show where he's just bullying some guys. If they come out at the beginning of the year and Micah has not signed and he decides to hold out, God forbid, if they come out and they do something, do you think that's going to put pressure on Micah to say, hey, I better get in there? Or what's your thought on that? I hope it all works out. Go Cowboys. Let's go. Thank y'all.
Thank you. Well, so far we haven't seen, like I say, we've seen some of the pass rush tonight was a little bit better this week than it was last week. So,
Right.
Putting pressure on Micah, I think that, to me, they're going to have to kind of figure out if he's not playing, they're going to have to piecemeal some of these sacks together. You figure Mike will be somewhere between 12 and 14, right? Probably in the sacks,
Yes,
maybe 16.
yes.
They're going to have 3 or 4 guys do that. Maybe it's, 4 sacks here, 5 sacks here, that kind of thing. But, it's a lot different than Micah Parsons rushing.
No, it definitely is.
But the thing about Houston gave me some encouragement. The Ezeraku thing, man, I mean, it's 2 games in, and you're kind of like, you're just thinking, man, he's got that ability, and we've seen him that ability, the explosiveness, the quickness, the ability to finish. Haven't seen it in these 2 preseason games yet, like we did in the practice, where he's going up against starting caliber NFL tackles. He's not going up against, like 3rd, 4th team guys. He's
playing Terrence Steele. He was doing against Guyton.
Yeah, exactly. So he was doing those things that I'd like to have seen him, the last couple of weeks, especially this week, have a little bit more to that game.
Yeah, I agree with you. All right, let's get our last caller in here. Let's go to Derek from Brooklyn. Derek, probably 30 seconds or less, man. How you doing? What do you got for us?
Hey, what's going on, guys? I just have a comment about Mozzie Smith. As bad as he's been, I don't really blame him because he was drafted at Michigan because he was strong and he was big and he was supposed to take on double teams. Every coach he's had since has asked him to lose weight, get faster, and add pass rush. Why would you draft a guy in the first round if all you were going to do is ask him to do the exact opposite of what got him drafted in the first place?
100%, Brooklyn. I've kind of wondered the same thing.
Yeah, I think the thing with Mozzie, though, he didn't show the power and strength the first year. Though.
No, he did not.
That's the problem. And a lot of the stuff, the weight loss was on himself, too.
Yeah, I think that everyone kept talking about the get off, firing off the ball.
He was slow.
And so he thought, okay, I need to lose weight.
And get faster. Yeah, but he's a 2-gap player at Michigan, and he's played all he's ever played in now. Here's 1-gap schemes.
Yeah, I mean, that defensive...
It's a bad fit.
It is.
It's a really bad fit.
It's not good. And that's another one. Like, I wonder if, how early is too early to say, hey, we're going to admit, okay, this wasn't the right fit for us? And do you look at Colin? I mean, I don't know. How does Harbaugh feel about him with the Chargers? I mean, same thing with maybe Luke Schoonmaker.
Yeah.
If you want to keep Rivaldo Fairweather. I don't know. I mean, sometimes change of sceneries. We're seeing it with Kyrie Elam, and hopefully that translates. Like, that ends up being a big difference for a player.
Absolutely.
For both parties there. But thank you to everybody who's been a part of this one tonight. We'll be back, like we said. I guess the official pregame show along the network side will start at 6 p.m. Friday. We'll take the postgame going until midnight. So big thank you to Peyton Russell back at Master Control. Of course, everybody who's been working back there, Jacob Ray and crew. We got Ross Lubinsky, Tim Collins, Gavin Spittle. Big thank you, of course, to Ruben Portillo out here engineering for us. For Brian Broaddus, I'm Zach Wolchuk. Until next week, hugs and hand pounds, everybody. Dallas Cowboys football continue in a moment.